Okay, picture this. We're unpacking a story today that feels like it's ripped straight out of a dark, gripping thriller. But the terrifying reality? It happened right in our own backyard. We're looking at this incredibly grim intersection of cutting-edge technology and brutal human tragedy. This is a case where artificial intelligence didn't just passively observe a crime, it was allegedly consulted in the planning, execution, and the cover-up of a double murder. So, let's dive into the relentless trail of digital and physical evidence that actually triggered a massive legal shockwave. What happens if a human is put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster? Now, I know that sounds like a line from a horror movie, right? But it's not. This is a real-life prompt literally typed into ChatGPT on April 13, 2026. The AI responded that the scenario, quote, sounds dangerous, and the user instantly replied, how would they find out? It's an absolutely chilling, calculated exchange, and it set the stage for a complete nightmare.
So that horrifying little digital conversation brings us to the massive, high-stakes question at the absolute center of this explainer. Can an AI be an accomplice to murder? Think about it. When a machine provides instantaneous, emotionless answers to deeply sinister questions, does it become a silent partner? We're going to plunge right into the darkness here to see exactly how investigators connected the physical bloodstains to the digital keystrokes.
Let's get right into it. Part 1, the silent digital partner.
To really grasp the magnitude of this, we have to look at the human lives at the center of the storm. Zamil Limon and Nahida Bristi. They were both 27, friends from Bangladesh, and they were pursuing advanced doctoral degrees at the University of South Florida. They had incredibly bright futures ahead of them. But in mid-April 2026, those futures just vanished. They disappeared from campus without a trace. Immediately, law enforcement zeroed in on the person closest to Zamil, his 26-year-old roommate, Hisham Abu Garbia. And as detectives started pulling that thread, a really disturbing picture started to emerge.
Moving on to Part 2, Timeline of a Tragedy.
The sequence of events here reads like a predator meticulously mapping out their next move. The pace is just relentless. On April 7th, the suspect places an Amazon order for duct tape. 4 days later, fire starter, charcoal, trash bags, lighter fluid. And then, April 13th, the digital planning actually begins with that chilling ChatGPT query about the garbage bags we saw earlier. It's this terrifying parallel track, accumulating physical tools in the real world while consulting a digital accomplice in the virtual one. Finally, on April 16th, Zamil and Nahida vanish.
With the digital searches didn't stop there. Just 1 day before the disappearances, the suspect was right back on ChatGPT. And look at the cold, calculated logic here. On one hand asking, can a VIN number on a car be changed? And on the other, can you keep a gun at home without a license? The juxtaposition of this sterile, helpful AI interface against a brutal, unfolding crime is just deeply unsettling. He was basically using advanced technology as a search engine for evasion.
And this brings us to the night of April 16th, the night they disappear. The sequence of events here is fragmented, it's rapid, and it just builds this palpable sense of dread. Around 7:43 p.m., cell phone location data shows Zamil's phone moving 32 miles away to Clearwater, Florida. 10 minutes later, the suspect's white Hyundai Genesis is spotted in that exact same area. The devices are literally mirroring each other in the dark. By 10:30 p.m., back at the apartment, a DoorDash order is placed from the suspect's phone for Lysol wipes, Febreze, and more trash bags from a local CVS. And finally, around midnight, another roommate reportedly witnesses the suspect using a rolling cart to move cardboard boxes from his bedroom out to the apartment complex's dumpster compactor. The cover-up was already in full motion.
Let's move to Part 3, a trail of breadcrumbs.
So, law enforcement now had to combine these cyber footprints with some grim, undeniable physical reality. And this brilliantly illustrates how they used a literal checklist of physical items to corroborate the horrifying chat logs. Those Amazon orders for Firestarter, they perfectly matched the planning phase. The DoorDash order for Lysol and Febreze aligned flawlessly with a post-crime cleanup, which was corroborated by blood traces they found leading from the kitchen to the suspect's bedroom. And the absolute most damning evidence came from that dumpster, a blood-soaked floor mat, Zamil's wallet, his glasses, and the Haida's pink phone case. The real world matched the digital timeline perfectly.
It is fascinating and honestly horrifying to see how the suspect's interaction with the AI completely shifted as the police closed in. Before the crime, the queries were entirely about planning and execution. Things like, will my neighbors hear my gun, or asking about surviving a sniper bullet to the head. But post-crime, the tone shifts drastically. The suspect starts using ChatGPT to track the police investigation itself. He asks,
Our cars checked at the Hillsborough River State Park. And then, as the sheriff's office upgraded the case status, he literally types into the chatbot, "What does missing endangered adult mean?" He's essentially asking the AI to interpret the dragnet that is tightening around him in real time. Ultimately, all these digital breadcrumbs led investigators to a really grim physical reality. Out near the Howard Franklin Bridge over Tampa Bay, which was a location linked to the suspect's phone data, detectives recovered a black utility trash bag. Inside were the heavily decomposed remains of Zamil Liman, bearing multiple sharp force injuries, including a fatal stab wound. Based on this overwhelming combination of physical and digital evidence, the state of Florida charged Shasham Abagarbi with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. Now, while Nihita Bristy's body was initially missing, prosecutors soon stated they found zero evidence she was still alive, and unidentified remains were later recovered nearby.
Which brings us to part 4, artificial intelligence on trial.
Now, an arrest might seem like the end of the story, but legally, it's just the beginning. Check out this stark quote from Florida Attorney General James Uthmere. He stated, "This investigation is just the first step in determining if OpenAI is criminally liable for these heinous acts." Prosecutors aren't just looking at the user who committed the crime anymore. They are pointing a legal spotlight directly at the tool that answered his questions, completely folding this specific murder case into a much broader criminal probe against OpenAI.
So the crucial point here is this massive legal paradigm shift. Think about it. Historically, we don't sue the hammer manufacturer when someone uses a hammer to break a window, right? But AI is different. It's interactive. It synthesizes information. The question now being raised in American courts is, can AI developers bear responsibility when their systems facilitate real-world violence? Does a machine's lack of friction, its ability to instantly provide customized advice on how to hide a body, make its creators liable for the blood spilled by its users? This is entirely uncharted legal territory.
And finally, Part 5, the illusion of privacy.
Zooming out for a second, this case exposes a huge vulnerability that honestly affects everyone: the illusion of machine intimacy. Even OpenAI's own CEO, Sam Altman, acknowledges that, quote, "People share the finest details of their lives with ChatGPT as if it were a psychotherapist." Because the interface is conversational, users develop this false sense of privacy. They treat the text box like a confessional, projecting an intimacy that simply does not exist in the code, and it definitely does not exist in the eyes of the law.
It's vital to understand the reality here. There is absolutely zero legal immunity when you talk to an AI. When you speak to a doctor or a lawyer, there is professional confidentiality. But when you type into ChatGPT, you are just generating data on a corporate server. These chat logs are a pristine, unguarded goldmine for criminal prosecutors, and companies are legally obligated to surrender them when presented with a court-ordered search warrant. And by the way, this isn't an isolated incident. These exact types of chat logs have already been used in other high-profile criminal cases, like a major Los Angeles wildfire investigation where an arson suspect actually tried to coax the AI into confirming his alibi. Criminals are treating AI like a trusted confidant, completely unaware that it is essentially a wiretap they are choosing to wear.
The tragic loss of Zamil Liman and Nihita Bristy leaves us with some deeply unsettling realities. The evidence here suggests a killer meticulously planned a cover-up by conversing with a machine that cheerfully answered his darkest questions. As criminals continue to adapt to the digital age, where exactly does the tool end and the accomplice begin? Are we prepared for a world where our most advanced technology doesn't possess the moral compass to refuse to help us destroy one another? That is a question we are going to be grappling with for years to come.